Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89, all my favourite profile picture. Um, Everyone's talking about The Little Mermaid, and there's a lot of debate about is it a hit, is it not, is it a flop, is it not? There are a few little issues. It didn't do as well internationally as they were expecting. It did a little bit, underperformed a little bit on expectations, but it did do fairly well. A lot of people are commenting on, like how many days they're counting, because the official weekend count for the proper May 26th to 28 weekend was 95.4 million, but the 4 day weekend was, I think, 118 million. And they're comparing it to Aladdin, which made 113 million, but that was years ago, and there's about a 30% difference in inflation and ticket prices and so forth. So not as many people saw that Little Mermaid as did Aladdin. But it's, I think, the fifth biggest opening for the Memorial Weekend or something. So it's doing okay. The haters are trying to act like it's a flop. I wouldn't say it's a flop. It may be underperforming internationally, which is kind of surprising because the concern and criticism was that America, being racist as it is for the most part, wouldn't be there for this film, but it's done better in America than it has internationally. So now people are saying, "Oh, look, it's the rest of the world that's racist, not America." I'm not sure why it isn't doing as well in the rest of the world. I know there's two issues with this film. One is the basic Disney live action issue, because a lot of people don't understand why they're making or remaking all the classic animated films. I'm like, well, what are they going to do? Just keep re-releasing them forever? And now we've got the technology to create these environments and characters that were previously only able to be done in animation. Why wouldn't we do them now with CG technology and do that? Even if they're not as good as the original, they're still their own thing and have their own sort of merits. So I have no problem with doing live action versions of cartoons now that we've got the technology to do them, as intricately or well as the animated versions. So there's that issue. Some people just are attached to the original and just don't want to look at anything new or different. And the other issue is how different, like the amount of changes, the idea that the race swapping was to appease people and so forth, as opposed to a genuine artistic decision or a colorblind casting decision based on her voice and so forth. I personally kind of think if you're going to have a property like this and make multiple sequels and remakes over the years, the first live action one may as well most represent the cartoon accurately, because you can always do different versions. The next version could be the black version or the Asian version, or it's already a musical, so you can't do the musical version of it. But they're just going to keep redoing the same stories, and that's the other criticism, is they just keep redoing the original stories, and that's kind of true. Except they are doing new content as well. They're doing both. They're remaking originals and creating new content. The new content isn't being as well received, and part of that has been put down to the campaign against Disney. And you can't say there isn't a right-wing campaign against Disney due to their support of the gay community. There definitely is, and that was actually growing over time anyway. But it's certainly become obvious now that that's a thing. So, and some people are commenting on that, like real, well, YouTubers aren't journalists, but real sort of YouTubers with journalistic intentions, like Grace Randolph, are actually addressing this issue, whereas haters and so forth are just ignoring it because they don't want people to look too hard or read into it, and they want them to just think that it just is a horrible film, so why go see it? Because that's what they've been pushing about most Disney products since. I haven't seen Strange World. I don't know if it's any good. I haven't seen Encanto or this new one that's coming out, Elemental or something. I haven't seen, or Buzz Lightyear, that one. I haven't seen those films, so I don't know if they're good or bad. But I know that even if they were good, these people would be hating on them and giving them negative criticism and negative publicity, because that's the base they're playing to. That's their agenda, and they have an anti-gay agenda, and anyone who's on our side is an enemy. And they're really going hard after Disney now, because Disney was put in a position where they had to take a stand on their support of the LGBT plus community in relation to the Don't Say Gay ban in Florida, and them having property and businesses in Florida. They had to deal with it. They couldn't ignore it. And they picked the right side, and they've defended that by saying Disney's always, promoted diversity and always sort of had a moral, sort of cause of always sort of, showing examples and morals and the right side, the right way to do things and good and bad and good always triumphs and so forth. So they can't just ignore this LGBTQ plus battle because they can't ignore it. They have to be age appropriate, which they have, and that's where they're being attacked. People implying that they are doing things that aren't right for children of a certain age and so forth, and all the sort of scare tactics against parents and all that. That's the thing. Now, is that affecting the box office of Little Mermaid? I don't know. Is it affecting the reviews? Is it being review bombed? I think it is, but I think the review bombing does go both ways. Other people will go on just to make a good review just because they're trying to compensate for the people they know are going to give it the hate views. So that goes both ways. But there definitely are haters campaigning against this film. Did it affect the box office? I don't know. We'll find out in the second week if there's good word of mouth and people go back to it. That's the real test.